Good evening, lads. Today we're going to be talking about how to do well in helicopter and drone combat. Now, the first thing to recognise is to understand what you're going to be fighting and what you're up against. You're probably well aware that you're going to be fighting against a Ka-50. So let's take a moment to think about how to engage a Ka-50. Now, if you have an early helicopter, or as I like to refer to them as the crappier helicopters, for example, say the Heli or the Mi-4, you get the idea. Engaging a Ka-50 is going to be very difficult, but it's not impossible. The first thing you have to do and understand is that quite a lot of Ka-50s are very cocky. In a lot of scenarios, a lot of them don't really know how to fly the helicopter properly. The thing with the Ka-50 is it's actually a very unstable helicopter. You may notice a lot of players keep their landing gear down. This is so that if they bump into the ground or just in general have a little crash, they'll have a decent chance of surviving. Additionally, it's worth noting that if the Ka-50 were to fly upside down for a couple seconds, the engine stall. Something to keep in mind when you're playing in realistic. So then, how do we kill a Ka-50? Now, it's important to know that you have to fly at all times. And I do mean at all times, under 20 meters. The proximity fuse on the Vickers missiles disables if you fly under 20 meters. And that's all fine and well and dandy, but it's also important to remember that it's still a missile. If it hits you directly, you're probably not going to have a good time. So for that reason, you also will have to fly very quickly. Now, if you're in a, say, Mi-4, this is probably going to be very, very difficult for you. But yes, to summarize, under 20 meters and fly very quickly. So, how do we approach a Ka-50? Now, it's important to remember that you do not ever want to fly directly away or towards a Ka-50. The reason for this is the ATGM is still tracking you and most likely is locked onto you in most scenarios. So if you fly directly towards him, he doesn't need to aim that missile manually at all. He can just sit back and relax. He doesn't even need to worry about the proximity fuse. For this reason, it's important to try and stick to about 25 degrees to sort of 40 degrees when flying both away and towards a Ka-50. Doing this and maintaining 20 meters or lower and at high speed should keep you alive, plus it's pretty entertaining watching all those missiles just miss. Additionally, you have to keep in mind that when you do get close to a Ka-50, or even worse, if a Ka-50 chooses to get close to you, they're going to be using their aimbot Sabot firing 30mm. It's the same gun from the BMP. Now, if you do get in, say within 2 kilometers of a Ka-50, it isn't all doom and gloom. Fortunately, the Ka-50 has very limited angles it can attack you from regarding the Sabot cannon. However, though, they still will have their Vickers ATGM, so it's important to remember not to go above 20 meters and to keep some speed with you. When you commit to the attack of a Ka-50, you have to go all in, and you have to go very hard. There is no, ooh, maybe attack, maybe not. If you commit, you have to fully commit to attacking, and one of you will die. So where do you attack a Ka-50? What parts should you aim at? If you have low caliber weaponry, for example a 7.62, all the way up to a 50 cal to be honest, can't really go for the pilot due to the bulletproof glass. So instead, go for the engines. This may not get you the kill immediately, but if you are in one of these lower tier helicopters, you probably weren't going to be able to get the kill anyway. The fact of the matter is, if you're in a low tier helicopter and you're playing in drone combat, it's going to be a very difficult and most likely very stressful time. To be honest, if you have an Mi-4 and that's your main helicopter, I would recommend you just don't bother. Do tank assault. So far, we've only spoken about the Ka-50. But the thing is, there are 2 types of helicopters: the early helicopters and the later helicopters with the aimbots and the lock-on stuff. You see, when you get a helicopter with the lock-on abilities, EC becomes a lot more bearable. It's much more, dare I say, enjoyable. Because you're more or less on an even playing field with a Ka-50. It's not so one-sided anymore. You'll still have difficulties, but they're a lot more durable. And if you have made it to this point, you've gained a lot of skill. And a lot of understanding of how to avoid a Ka-50. It is now at this point that you can actually get on top of the scoreboard, get your name very high up. But nonetheless, just keep in mind, 20 meters, let's say quick. Fun fact, the 20-meter rule also applies to a lot of SPAA. Something to keep in mind and realistic. So then, the impossible has happened. You're playing EC and you're fighting something that isn't a KA-50. And no, I'm not talking about the KA-52. Let's say you're fighting a Hind. I don't know, a Hind P, let's say, or a Hind V. These helicopters are equipped with air-to-air missiles. What should you do? Well, it isn't all doom and gloom, as it is with the KA-50. The R-60 these helicopters are most likely carrying is very easily confused. Did you know that you can use dumb firing rockets as a sort of makeshift flare? Fire 4 of these rockets in parallel and you should be okay. The R-60 should just harmlessly go flinging off after the dumb firing missiles. And, well, it's quite an amusing sight to be honest. Another general tip for EC is maintaining situational awareness. Now you can do this by hiding yourself and peeking over with a third-person camera. You can also use your ATGM view, even if you don't have ATGMs, to see how far away a helicopter is. A KA-50 that's more than 10 km away, you don't need to worry about it. But as you get closer, you need to know when you can dive up against them, when you can go for your attack. The way attacking a KA-50 usually plays out is you charge at them, maintaining the 20 meters, and firing very, very quickly, whilst they're firing their vigors and more often than not missing. As soon as you get close, you dive up, you're in danger now, but so is the KA-50. This is your chance to take it out. And if you catch them unaware, you can kill them without them even doing any damage to you. Again, situational awareness is very important to keep in mind. But nonetheless, these are things that I have noticed whilst playing EC. You should always try and keep an open mind and try new things. If they don't work out, it's okay, you can always just modify it or try a new approach. Again, these are just things that I've noticed and that seem to work relatively well for me. So thanks for listening, do appreciate it. And I'll see you in the battlefield. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe. Bye!